Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Astral interview. And here with me, I have this wonderful, beautiful Shehnaz Soni. Welcome, Shehnaz. Thank you for being here. I just learned in the last few minutes how many languages Shehnaz knows.
Thank you, Shahiroz. Our names are very much, they have the similar rhythm, right? Shahiroz
Right,
and Shehnaz. And
right.
yes, I'm excited to talk to you about whatever comes in.
Let's start with you and let's talk about you personally, generally, like where you grew up and what your background is.
Yeah, sure. So I was born and raised in Karachi, Pakistan.
Nice.
And my background was very different than the life I live today. Like I was very much raised in a conservative Muslim religion and very patriarchal culture
Right,
and things that generally people would value was not really truly valued because it was very different mindset for a woman
right,
to just be raised for one purpose is to get married and then to serve their family, right? Because we live in an extended family system.
yeah,
So for me to go to school was not really a practical way of looking at life because everybody around me would just, even if they would go to school, they would ultimately get married and then they would pretty much do whatever the household would want them to do. And for the most part, it was all about child rearing, cooking in the kitchen, looking good,
right, right,
and attending, parties and inviting people over. I mean, that was the life that was
right.
supposedly laid out for me.
Wow. It's interesting you're Muslim because I'm Muslim too, and my Muslim life was very different. I was born into an Ismaili Muslim family, and therefore it was very non-orthodox, non-fundamental, and our faith encourages meditation, it encourages prayer, it encourages women being educated. So it's a very different Islam that I grew up in. So it's very interesting to meet other Muslims that come from a very orthodox form of Islam.
Yeah, because it's interesting what you're just saying, right? Because Islam actually means peace. The
Absolutely.
religion is all about goodness because Muhammad Prophet Mustafa was a very good example of how we should all live. But
Right.
just like any
I
religion,
remember
right?
the story of the lady who threw garbage on him and he would just let her throw garbage on her. Do you know that story? Prophet Muhammad
Actually,
used
I
to
don't
take,
remember that story. So tell me.
there's a story where he used to walk a certain path every single day, except there's this woman above him and she would always throw garbage down from there. So there's a story of him always walking every day and she throws this garbage down, but he doesn't say anything to her. He just walks that path.
Right, because I mean, that's how much he was in the flow with himself,
Yeah,
right? That things
exactly.
like that did not really affected him like it would affect
No,
another normal human being.
right. Some
That it doesn't matter where, Islam as a religion is a very good religion. And however, the implementation is done differently. Even in the Holy Quran, it says that if you have a boy and a girl, but then if you have only money to send one child, right, to school, then you send the girl because
yeah,
that's the one that's going to be the one representing the generation to come or teaching them what they need to become.
absolutely.
So Islam as a religion is a very beautiful religion. However, implementation wise, a lot of time,
Yeah,
human nature comes in the way and compromises the ultimate goal.
yeah, yeah. It makes you wonder, like, if Islam is so accepting of women and other things, like so many things in Islam that are forward thinking, forward moving, are sort of suppressed in some forms of Islam, while other forms of Islam, make them flourish. And why there's this dichotomy, because it doesn't even make sense, right? The text itself tells you one thing and you're doing another.
I think that's what happens with all the religion, right? Because I think the religion, Christianity, all the single religion, none of the religion wanted a division. It was all about inclusion, but the implementation sometimes creates a lot of exclusion among human beings. And that's the challenge that we're running into. And the interesting thing about Muhammad Mustafa was that not only that he married a woman, right, like that was much older than him, right? Like he was 25 and he married a 40-year-old woman who was a business entrepreneur, and she became like that perfect wife for him because he needed the mature wife so that he could do what his mission was in this world. And all of that examples are so much to look for. But however, like we don't really, like if that happens in our culture, it's looked upon as like, what's wrong with you? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
a man marrying a woman that's that
Yeah,
old
much
from him.
older. That's right. And most people don't even know that, right? Khadija was a businesswoman herself.
Exactly. She was the businesswoman, and she was the reason when he even got channeled Quran, she was able to help him because it was a lot for him to process. And he needed somebody who was mature enough to help him through those steps to make him a great leader that he ended up becoming as part of his evolution.
I'm so glad we went on this tangent to discuss this little piece. It's so important that nobody knows, and who else would I talk to about it? So let's get back to you for a second. So we talked about you growing up in a bit of an Orthodox Muslim family, etc. So then what happens? How do you get your education? I mean, how do you go from there to being at NASA?
So basically, that's why I'm writing this book, Quantum Human, because my whole thing is that people always told me what I needed to do, but I never truly did what I was told to do, which is the reason I'm talking to you right now. If I would have followed the script that I was given, I would have been a great wife. I would have married. I would have had children. I would have been just like anybody else, except that I would have never understand the power as a quantum human we have within ourselves that can create the reality truly against all odds if you truly want to do it, right? So for me, my dad was like, you're going to just be in the kitchen and that's pretty much going to be your life. And he was very pragmatic, and I can see his point of view, but I never agreed with that. To me, I wanted to be the best in my school, so I always would try to get the best grade, and I would study more and more. As much as I was told that that's not going to be my path, I became almost, I used that fuel of mine, the fact that I had frustration towards the way the culture was. I completely channeled it all in becoming very studious. I became a bookworm. I would miss pretty much every function just so that I can do the best in the school. And it wasn't easy for me. Like, I was a hardworking girl. It wasn't like naturally I was gifted where I can just walk into school and score 100 out of 100 in the math class. I wasn't like that. But I had this extreme drive to learn, understand, and just keep doing it. I made that as my mission. And because of that, I became a valedictorian in the college. So to me, that's how far I went. And even when I got admission in the engineering school, I did not tell my dad because I knew he's not going to like it. So I had my mom sign all the paper, and I kind of hid it from him for a while until I had to tell him. So it was kind of an interesting relationship I had with my dad, because he became my biggest teacher in making me the person that I am today. Because the more he resisted, the more I became a rebellion.
You push, yeah, same. I'd say had a similar story. My dad was very strict too, and the more he pushed me, the more I went in the other direction. So I think there's this male female dynamic that occurs that takes a drama in our lives, and these dramas make us better people. So
yes, and I'm very grateful for him. He's no longer here in this world, but I'm so grateful for him because I now realize that he had to take a very tough role of being the person he was so that I can be the person I'm supposed to be.
Absolutely. So you mentioned bookworm, you mentioned engineering. Now, how did you decide on engineering as a career path for you? Because there's so many different paths you could have taken, and then you chose engineering.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was very interesting because engineering wasn't my first choice. My first choice was to become a doctor. I really wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to help people. And to me, that seemed like the right way to do it. However, and I was a valedictorian, I could have picked any subject to go into. But being a doctor means night duties. And Karachi at the time, we're talking about early 1990, it was not a very good condition there. And my dad pretty much said that I cannot imagine you not coming home at a certain time, right? Because so the fact is, if you're doing night duties and I had to change 2 or 3 buses just to even get to the school if I would have gone for medical. So there were too many obstacles in my way, and I knew that is not going to go far because my dad said, I can't afford for you to not come home at a timely manner, and I have no idea whether you're alive, dead, raped, God knows what's happening to you. So I could, and that to me made sense because I knew. So the only other option was, so there are only 3 professions that are looked at in Pakistan as a good one is doctor, engineering, and lawyer. And lawyer is like liar. So it's not 100% prestigious. So for me, the only other option was to become an engineer because my math was very good. And I'm like, okay, you know what, then let's just follow this path. And even within engineering, there was electrical, computer, civil, all of that. And I picked the one that was the hardest to get into. And it was
Right.
electrical at the time. So I took that.
Excellent. Excellent. See, now we know why you became an engineer. So then, okay, so you go um to learn and school as an engineer. How was that for you? Was that something that you were expecting it to be, or was it totally different? You had to work your butt off.
I mean, it was actually interesting for me. Like the study wasn't hard by any means, but the culture was hard because
Right.
I was raised in a very sheltered environment. I went to, like, even in my part of my schooling, I did with the girls' schooling. So it was all girls. So when you go to NED, which is one of the famous university in Karachi, it's a co-school, right? So now you have got boys and girls both. So to me,
Yeah.
that was a huge cultural shock, just having to have to see boys around you. And there were boys that would like send you love letter and stuff, and to me I was very
Okay.
scared of all that because I knew
Right.
that if I fall in love, then my dad will just, I mean, it's just end of me, right?
He'll
And
just get you married, and then there goes your whole career.
exactly, so I was very, and I was, my focus was like, I have a mission, man, I want to become this person. And when people would come to me, I was like, I have no time for love and I have no time for this, plus I don't want you to die and me to die in the process.
Right.
So yeah.
That's so funny. Okay. So then you get through the whole years of educating yourself, and you're at NASA now?
Yes, but I actually was only able to do 1 year, by the way. So I didn't finish. I was only in 1 year of engineering. And
Okay.
then, I was getting proposal, right? And the proposal generally comes at a certain age. And as soon as you like, generally most of the people in my culture, so I'm part of the Bora culture, which is like a subset of Shia
I'm
Muslims.
very familiar with Bora.
So you know now. So
Yeah,
most of
so
the girls,
yeah.
yeah, most of the girls get picked up and to be married when they're under 20. So when you hit 20, now you're like, my God, I mean, you have to be considered for the marriage. So in my case, I was 20 years old and my mom and dad were wanting to marry me off, right? So I started getting proposals, and proposals would come to the house, and it was just a matter of time for me to say yes to something. And so one of the proposal that came, it seemed kind of better compared to other proposals because the men that were coming, sometimes they were 15 plus years older than me. And my mom and dad have the similar age difference. And I had seen the marriage wasn't as ideal as I like it to be. So I didn't want to fall in that trap. So my goal was to minimize the age difference compared to theirs, right? So
Oh,
when my first husband came, and he was kind of more close to 6 years older than me, that seemed way better deal than having to have an older person. So
right.
I said yes to him actually. And the interesting thing was that I was right in the middle of my logic design system homework. And to me, I was more worried about the homework than my engagement. So I talked to him for 1 hour. And on Tuesday, I talked to him for 1 hour. And on Thursday, we got married.
Wow. That's such a short engagement.
Yeah, it was one of the shortest engagement because he had only come from America just to marry.
Right.
And that was the only goal he had. And he had very limited time. And not only that he had come to marry, he'd also come to hope that he can get the green card as part of a married couple applying together.
Yeah.
And he was hoping that I would bring the luck in his life, which I did, because we went for interview and both of us were accepted to come to America with the green card. So
Wow.
that is how I came to America.
Oh, wow. That's so amazing. And so then, well, you got engaged in a matter of days. You got married in a matter of days after your engagement. That's crazy. How do you even know this is the right person?
Exactly. I mean, the only reason I said yes to him is because it's funny because I'm just too practical and too honest for my own good. So even when we had that 1 hour interview and he asked me a lot of questions like, do you know how to cook? And I said, no. I said, I can make you rice and I can make you tea. And then he said, do you know how to speak English? And I said, I can tell you Newton's first, second, and third law of motion in English, but no, I don't know how to speak English. And so I was just very honest. And I think he kind of liked that. But
Right.
the funny thing is, I only asked him one question and it was very direct. And I said, do you think you can keep me happy?
Wow. What
And
a profound question to ask.
I know. And he, of course, said yes because he was the smart man, right? Why would he
Yeah.
not say yes?
Right. Did you push on that? Did you say like, okay, I don't want a one word answer. How are you going to keep me
I mean,
happy?
I just told him that I don't know you and I'm a little scared that we are about to, we're saying we're about to get married, and basically marriage means we have to stay together until we die. And I believed in hell or heaven very, very precisely that time, more than ever. So for me, it was it. Like, I'm marrying you for life. And I said, how do you know that you can make me happy? And he said, I just know. He said that I know that you and I are meant for each other. And
Wow.
I felt pretty comfortable with that answer.
That's a pretty amazing answer, right? Just when someone comes from a place of knowing, that's nothing beats that.
Exactly.
Nothing beats
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. So it was, to me, I pretty much trusted in him, and he became pretty much the person I had to, put my trust in to take this leap of faith and come to America.
See, funny. I thought you would ask him something like, are you going to interfere with my career?
Actually, one thing that I did ask was, and I think that was actually the reason I even went to the happiness question. I asked him that I want to finish my studies because I'm only on the 1 year of engineering, and I like to finish my studies. And he said, I want you to finish your studies. He really
Wow.
wanted me to. So that was
That's,
the one biggest reason I wanted to go forward with him, because majority of the men are not
no,
open-minded enough to let their wife study.
right. And so it really sounds, and he's Bohora too?
Yes.
Wow. That's so amazing. It's almost like this person came into your life to be the perfect match for your life at that time.
To help me come to America. And the irony was that the year before this happened, I was planning on coming to America just purely on my education basis, because I
Yeah.
could, because I was even taking all the tests so I can get admission in the university. But again, my dad did not agree with it. And without your dad agreement, you can't do shit. It's the world we live in. We have to have a man agreeing
Yeah.
with you, whether it's your dad or whether it's your husband. And that pretty much has been the story for everyone generally.
Especially for Muslims.
Exactly.
Especially for Muslims. Okay. Okay, so now, okay, so you're married, and so what are you doing? You're going to school and living your married life at the same time. But how do you ever get to NASA?
So basically, I mean, in order to get to NASA, I had to just get the right degree, which was the most important thing. But I also had to become a citizen. That was
Yes.
another important thing. And right after and to me, like, even when I was graduating, in 1995, I graduated, and even getting the admission has its own story, which I do cover in my chapter 2 in my
Yeah.
book. And it's probably very fascinating because it wasn't easy for me to get an admission for a whole different reason. Partly because we had riots in the Kennedy University for one of the tests that caused me to not be able to take the test. And it ended up showing up fail in my mark sheet, even though it had nothing to do with my performance. It had
Your
everything to
actual
do with
performance.
the condition in Karachi at the time, right? So yeah, but going back to the fact that I got the degree and I knew that I wanted to work on programs that nobody works on. So in my mind, I wanted to work on programs that are completely unique. And I knew that the only company who was doing those programs at the time, I was living in California, and Hughes satellite comm division in El Segundo, California, was the one working on project like in Marset, which was a satellite phone, and it was a brand new phone that they were coming with, and it had nothing like that had ever been produced in the society. So for me, it was important to work on projects that nobody has worked on, but I knew that I can't get into Hughes unless I have my citizenship. And
Right.
I worked really hard to even get my citizenship right after 5 years of being in America. I applied, and even that had so many hurdles. Like, they lost
I'm
my
sure.
paperwork, it got delayed by 2 years, but I just made sure I stayed consistent. I got my my citizenship,
Yeah.
and then I was able to go for the Hughes company as my first company to start.
Wow.
And that's
And that,
how I, one step at a time. So I worked mostly
yeah.
on Hughes and Boeing, and it's been last 4 years I've been working with NASA as a choice, because I was working with NASA anyway,
Right.
like, as they were my customer for all the products.
Right.
But I just thought that let's just go and work within the company and see how that goes. And it's been fun because I'm, working on a project that's pretty innovative again right
So
now.
tell
So
us a little bit about the products that you
worked
promote.
on.
Yeah.
So I worked on Inmarsat, was one of my first project where I actually did all the software lifecycle. So my first job, by the way, was very interesting because even though I had an electrical engineering degree, but the job required me to be a software engineer, and I
Oh
like
my God, you're a
challenges.
software engineer too?
Yes.
Cool. What do you code in?
So I coded in all the primitive languages, which nowadays kid would say it's primitive because it's Ada,
Like C
Fortran,
and C++
Basic, C.
and all these? Yeah.
Yeah, but not,
Me
like,
too.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, so that was my first job. And the good thing is, like, you go to school to learn, you don't go to
Yeah.
school to, and then whatever gets thrown at you, you just have to learn it. So I learned the whole software life cycle and I loved it just taking it all the way from system engineering to software engineering to, to bring the bread and butter home, basically by in the form of the product.
Right. You want to do something, you'll learn how to do whatever it is to make it happen.
Exactly, because you have a drive, you have an intention, and you're hardworking. And as I said that, I'd already proved it with my schooling that if I can be a valedictorian, then I can pretty much do whatever I want, but I have to want it. And that was one of the most important things for the job that I picked. So I worked on Inmarsat first, then I worked on International Space Station. I did a lot of coding for International Space Station. Also, I was, pivotal in making all the test procedures for astronauts to use when they were up in the space, because International Space Station was built up in the space and was all about making sure that you know what to do step by step, right? To make the modules to connect.
Right.
So not only that I wrote the software for module connection, but I also wrote the steps on which command to send to 1553 bus and how to make it all happen. So it became my baby. I worked on it for a while. And then I even went into a secure projects, like classified projects. I worked on future combat system and ground-based mid-course defense system. And so it was interesting to work on those classified projects and have to deal with a different way of dealing with situation. It was all about working on a missile that would protect you from any kind of attack from North Korea or Iran. So that kind of was fun and exciting. I also worked on Space Launch System, which is the rocket we're going to use, by the way, on the current program that I'm working on, which is the human landing system. And what it means is that the Space Launch System is going to use the Orion capsule to take the astronauts up in the NRHO orbit, which is the non-reptilian halo orbit, lunar orbit. And then we're going to rendezvous with the human landing system, which we are basically right now working with SpaceX to where they're making a Starship that's going to rendezvous at that point. And then the astronauts will pass to the Starship, and then they will take them to the lunar surface to the south side of the moon. So that's the project I'm working on, and my main role is system engineering and making sure that the requirements are done right so we can do a proper designing. And it's very innovative.
Oh, so. Very exciting. Sounds very exciting. And the fact that we are sending, okay, now all those people who believe we never made it to the moon, you're somebody who's actually working there right now, creating a design of a rocket ship that'll take people to the moon, right?
Yeah, and that is the thing. So I'm hoping that we'll uncover some of the questions that we all have, because at the end of the day, there is just so much happens behind the screen that none of us can truly understand, because the technology that we know today, they may have been there 50 years ago, right? So right now we have a technology where you can pretty much show anything you want to the people to create an illusion that you want. Wow.
I believe it, because as you're working on technology, it's not going to be in the public right away, right? So you're going to be working on technology, and then at some point in the future, it's going to be in the public. It's like, these phones, TVs, everything all existed before we got them in the public. And the technology we have is a lot less than what the greatest technology that exists out there right now, for sure.
That is true. And then also, like, if you have a certain strategy with where you want human population to go, then you don't want to give them information about the technology that can completely change their mindset.
Right. So, there's this whole idea of people running the world and running our realities. And so I don't disagree with the idea that we need some kind of organization like this, but who it is, how they're running it, I also believe should be communicated to the citizenship of the world, because then there's a communication, then there's a collaboration.
Right. So I think that the thing is that there is a power struggle and the control struggle that causes this unbalance. So that's why the whole book, Quantum Human, is all about if everybody truly vibrates at the frequency and vibration that truly is serving their purpose, and then they're showing up the best in this world, then we can all create a very good balance, reciprocity, where the give and take is done in the right way. Everybody gets to love, everybody gets to experience life like heaven on earth. And truly, if we can all clear our intention, because at the end of the day, I think every single human being would agree with me that they would love to be loved and they would love to love.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. I think that's right.
That's the number one thing, right?
It's all about love. So why not we just start living the life?
Michael Jackson said it.
I agree with him because, it's all about that. And to me, I think that we are just wasting our time and distractions and doing things that are completely taking us off course. And why are we doing that? I don't understand, because to me, I've always been driven. So for
Mhm.
me, it's a natural way to live. No matter what happens, I just, I say to my friends that I'm one of those soldiers that can keep getting bullets. I do fall down and I do get
Yeah,
messed up. I do get near death experiences, but then I get up even more powerful than last time. You know
yeah,
why? Because
yeah.
whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Makes stronger. Absolutely. Look at all these songs we're quoting. Okay, so I have a question for you. Now, you told me originally that you wanted to become a doctor, right? But
Yes.
really, now we're moving to health coaching, which really is the true form of a doctor rather than the medical doctor, right? Or they go hand in hand. Let's go that far, right? But the fact is, your dream of becoming a doctor does actually happen because you're now a health coach, right?
Yes, so I'm a health coach, I'm a life coach, and I'm all about healing. I've done so many different modalities just to heal people with crystal or heal people with King Solomon life activation process. There are many ways to go to the mountain. And I believe that I actually know how to heal people through my methods. So I've created my own methods, and I'm probably going to start calling it more like a quantum healing or something, because I
Right.
do talk about the quantum human aspect in the book. And a lot of time people are not living that life or
No.
leveraging off the quantum principle that we have in this world that truly is existing. Whether you agree with it or not, it doesn't really matter, because the world is operating based on certain principle. So it's better that if you truly want to master the game of life, you might as well start learning some of these principles so you can make your life and make your dream a reality.
Absolutely. So when I was a child, I'll just share a synchronicity with you. I too wanted to be a doctor when I was a child because my grandma died of cancer and I wanted to be a doctor to heal cancer permanently forever, right? But then here right now in my life, what do? I work for David Sarita. What does David Sarita do? Frequency. Uh, and so it's the same thing. The whole metaphysical path that I was taking on, all these interviews, it's all about healing and it's all about, and what I found was that different people require a different form of healing that matches them. There's no
Exactly.
one perfect formula for any one person, right?
Exactly. And that is the thing about the healing, right? Is that when people, and that is the thing that I feel like I was given that gift. Like I have a gift where if you come for a session to me and whatever your story is, I will be able to help you based on tuning into your frequency and vibration and helping you through whatever will be best for you, right? So it's like when you know like many things, then you take out whatever is going to help that particular person. So in a way, for me, it becomes like a fun thing to do, because with my work that I do, it's a very complex work and we have to go through so many layers to understand a concept. So for me, I have this, I would say, this skill that I have created by working on projects like that helps me apply on human being, which is why I look at human as a very incredible, magnificent craft. And that's why, to me, like I had to write this book to tell everybody that the way I see human being, it's like, wow, we are a gift to humanity. I mean, we are really truly a
Absolutely.
gift. And it's very sad that most of us are very bogged down by life or by diseases or by somebody else's agenda. So
Hmm.
it's very sad that we are bogged down. But what we need to do is remember to not get bogged down. So anybody comes to me, I would be like, well, how can we do best so you can be the best leader you need to be for your own self?
Right. Right. And when you put the power into the other person, you're actually empowering yourself too. And when you give the power to the other person, you both become more powerful in this interaction.
100%, because for me, like, I'm a senior engineer, so I always have a lot of junior engineers to train. And when I train them, my goal is for them to pretty much take my job, right? So that so I can actually find another job. And they are like, really? I'm like, because I don't care. Like, I can easily find another job. For me, if you can do my job, then I was the best teacher, because I have nothing to hide and nothing to fear,
Yeah,
because we all have our own lights.
absolutely.
Nobody can steal
Absolutely.
your light. So
Nobody can steal your light and you're become more powerful. So in order for our humanity become a collective we all need to be, individual eyes who can recognize that we need to be a collective we. You know
Because
what I
we are
mean?
collectively, because everything that is actually coming in the interface with you, they're part of the, it's like you are seeing yourself through the mirror of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you also have to recognize that anything negative happening with you with another person is also a mirror. It's not just the positive, even
Oh,
the negative.
definitely. If it triggers you, means that there is something in you that brought that memory back up front because you had not processed it whatever time frame ago, right? So that's why it's kind of good. So in a way, when you have having a shitty day, then you should just say that, oh my God, today's a test day, right? Like, so I'm going to have to take a lot of tests. So then you have to be more gentle with yourself, because we are sometimes, some days are more testing than the others.
Right.
Then the days that are testing, that's where the soul growth happens.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And okay, so you went from I want to be a doctor to becoming a scholar, becoming an engineer, becoming a healer, life coach, right? But now we're going from engineer to life coach. So tell us how this happens.
Yeah, so for me, it's funny because I've always attracted friends. Like the friends always told me that you have a natural capacity to help solve the problem, like life problems. And I was even told that if there is a place where, impromptu somebody can come with any problem, I could technically do that. And if you have any idea, by the way, because I would love to, if there's like a phone line, for example, I probably would be really good at it. So I was told that, but the health coaching happened mainly because I had a very 2017, I had an accident where I was hit and run, and it just kind of messed up a little bit my overall, uh, I just started having a whole bunch of digestion problems. Let's just say in 2017. So I was struggling to the point where I was going to so many different people to help me. Nobody was able to help me. I could not even have my green tea that I drink every day because I love it. Like I could not even digest a simple green tea. I was having so much problems. So while I started having so much problems, I wanted to understand it really well. And for me, if I have to understand it, I have to learn it. So I ended up finding this Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York that were certifying people for 1 year health coach education. So I primarily became a health coach for my own, so I can be my own coach. That was my main driver. And then, of course, while I was taking the certificate, I also wanted to start moving into life where I can help people, my other gifts, right? Because I'm an engineer, but I'm not just an engineer. I'm a mother, but I'm just not a mother. I'm more than that. And I wanted to do these other things. And I'm like, how am I going to open the channel for that? So I was hoping the health coach certificate would be a good way to get into the game of helping people directly by working with them one-on-one.
Right. Wow. So, okay, so you take this nutrition course, and now integrative health is not just nutrition, it's more than that, right?
Oh, 100%.
So you take this course to heal yourself, and this healing is as a result of an accident you had, right? Many people have accidents in their lives that are these milestones that change their life so drastically from the point of an accident. Their spiritual life changes. They start looking at their physical body more. I had a friend tell me that actually it was David Sarita who said that right behind the pain someone feels is where God is. And it's such a profound statement, right? Because you're so focused on your pain that you can't take it anymore. So you want to find out what's causing your pain or your suffering or whatever it is. And you're so in the present that you now open your eyes and you look at what you're doing in your life, and your life now goes in another direction because of this one incident that happens out of the blue that you didn't cause it, because it wasn't something you were intending to do, but something from another place, I don't know what, interacts with your normal everyday life, and now your life changes. And so talk about that in the form of like, how did you go through that in your life then?
Actually, so I did continue on engineering, right? Which I still do, right? And I still do health coaching. And
absolutely.
Right. So to me, I think it was one of those things where like, okay, because we are multidimensional beings, so we should never stop ourselves from anything we truly want to do, right? So for me right now, I actually realized, because at one point I wanted to leave my engineering so I can be full-time health coach, life coach. Right. But of course, health coach, life coach in this world, it's not considered, it doesn't pay the bill, let's just say.
No, yeah.
And for me, like I have to still pay the bill because I am, raising all these boys and so forth. So I think the point that you're asking me is that what are the triggers that makes one go in the direction of even pursuing something like a certification of health coaching?
Right.
And I think for me, as I said, that I've always looked at life as like, okay, there's a problem and then there's a solution, right? And my thing is that I always have been very much curious about just in general about our existence in this world and all of that. And because of that, I went to many spiritual school also to learn all that. That's why I became a Kabbalah teacher. So I've done all of that, right? So I've always been curious, and I take courses and training to understand that. And then I want to share that wisdom with others.
Right.
So it's been a very natural progression because I learn and then I want to share. So I think that because the way I do everything, it has always been that whenever a problem comes to me, especially the one that kicks you in the ass like really hard, I always say that, okay, if what can I do to solve the problem? And I think that because I asked that question, then I start getting the answers like, okay, let's become a health coach. Because you know what, to me, I was thinking it was an expensive training, by the way, but I was thinking worst to worst, I may not make any money, but I will learn how to be able to navigate my life here in this world while I'm still in this
your physical body, right? The most important vessel you have here right now. So,
exactly.
We need to know how to navigate that.
And I'm very glad that I did that because it opened the door for me. Like right now, like my son was very sick just a few weeks ago, and it was right before his graduation. And as soon as he calls me that he's sick, I was like, okay, you know what? Mom is on a mission, right?
Superwoman. Mom is superwoman.
Oh my God, I had to pretty much give him all the right supplements. I was giving him the golden milk. Like it was fun for me. And he was like, okay, so it's to me, it's actually fun. Healing is fun if you really look at it, because then it needs to be whatever it needs to be.
It's a puzzle, right? It's a puzzle and you have to solve the puzzle.
Yes, I definitely enjoy. Like if you come to me, let's say, and you would say, okay, I'm constipated, then I would say, what is constipating you in life? And that's how we start into that path of solving the problem.
I was talking to, who was I talking to? I was talking, just my mom, I think it was, and they were talking, they called this tumor, they call it a gut, which is a knot in Gujarati, right? Gut.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking about this, of course, right? Of course a tumor is a knot. Of course it's an emotional, something that's taken place energetically that forms a knot that has to be untied, right? And once it's untied on the emotional level, it's probably going to dissolve on the physical level.
Exactly. That is exactly how everything is, right? It's like, and then you do one step at a time, you do one layer at a time, because, it takes a lot for someone to get answer. It doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
And similarly, it takes a little bit to rewind that. And it depends on a person and their mindset, right? That where are they? Because, truly you have to believe in yourself that you are this magnificent quantum human and you can truly fix it. But if your beliefs are not strong, then it doesn't follow.
True. And so like language, like when I think about India and I think about language, like this just one word we talked about right now, but there's so much wisdom on healing in the ancient literature, whether it's Vedic or whether it's Egyptian or whether it's Kabbalah or, right? There's so much information on physical healing in there. If only we were to utilize it to its optimum.
Yeah, the languages like Sanskrit, Arabic, all of these languages, they were initially, they're all root languages came into existence at the same time, and all the wisdom was channeled, right? Through different religions or through different people or through different process. Like Kabbalah was channeled through Rabbi, and it was the information that came through many times beforehand, but nobody was able to take it further than the Rabbi did, which is why it got tagged as a Jewish system, but it was not. It was meant for the whole humanity,
of course,
to be availing that information. The point of the thing was that what you're saying is truly that the language is kind of embedded. It's basically the cultures are embedded in languages. The wisdom is embedded in languages. So that's why, like, if you think about it, my Urdu language, which is my national language in Pakistan, we have so many different words for love. It's not even funny. And it's like love and maybe adore. I mean, there's just not too many words.
No.
So it's just because how much emphasis is put on something, right? It kind of
Yeah.
shows that where the culture focuses.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a beautiful example of how different the Indic languages are from the Western languages, and that how profound they are, that they need so many words. I mean, ishq versus um what I
Ishq,
can't remember,
pyar,
but
it's right.
ishq, pyar, mohabbat,
Mohabbat, yes.
prem, right? And
Yeah,
love of God versus love of a human being. Like, how amazing is that? That there's a different word for love of God versus love of another human being, right? It's so amazing. It's so amazing.
yeah.
So okay, so we went on a bit of a tangent there, but okay, so the other interest you have is Egypt. Where does that interest come from?
So Egypt, I mean, I went there in October 2019. I actually went there after I had a very huge challenge that year as well. I got the disease that took them a while to diagnose, and that was 2019. But so when I went to Egypt in October 2019, I was very much taken by the fact that when you go to the places in Egypt, I mean, when you go inside the pyramid, I mean, you're going to feel like your entire body feels that you are in some place where there's a lot has happened. And it wasn't a pleasant feeling at first for me. I felt like throwing up when I went completely inside underneath the pyramid, and even went inside where they don't even let other people go. But
Yeah,
our guide had bribed the people, so we were able to go to places that is closed down for regular people, which was good in a way, but it was a little bit challenging for me, because when you go in there, you feel the everything that happened, right? All the good things and all the bad things. So Egypt
right.
in general to me is a
Especially if you're intuitive.
yes.
So
So I think that I actually recommend everybody to go to Egypt once, just because it completely upgrades your DNA for good. You
yeah,
get the information that you need for your soul to grow to the next level, because our history does come from Egypt, and there's just so much has happened in that land and in all the temples, that it helps for you to kind of get integrated with that level of awareness.
have you been to the Kaaba?
I should go there because Kaaba is such a great symbol as well, right? I
Right.
haven't been there because the reason is that if I have to go to Kaaba, I
You
guess
have
I
to wear
can
a
do that.
burqa. I don't want to go there.
I'm okay to wear burqa as well. I think my biggest thing is that in my culture or in my family, if you want to go to Kaaba, you have to go with the Muharram, which
Yeah,
means it has to be either your dad or your husband or your brother.
right.
And since nobody, I mean, I'm single, right? So I don't
Yeah,
have that,
same.
which is the main reason I haven't been, but maybe I should create an opportunity to visit.
Yeah. Maybe we should
Have
go
you
together.
have you been there?
No, maybe we should go together. I was going to ask you if you've been there, then what's your comparison of the Kaaba and the
Because I'm
Egypt
assuming that that is
experience?
a pretty magnificent experience as well.
I'm
Because
sure
Kaaba
it
is a
is.
black cube, and cube is the Christ consciousness within us, right? Because it is
Yeah,
the cross and the cube are the same thing.
yeah, absolutely. When you unfold the
Exactly.
cube, you get
And
the
that's what the
cross.
whole journey of a man is, right? Because the man being folded versus unfolded. So when you're
Yeah.
unfolded, then you are a cross. When you're folded, you are a cube.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah,
Yeah.
I work with David's cube frequency. I don't know how much you've worked with David's frequencies, but I'm going to really insist that we spend some time talking about David's products and frequencies, and you get yourself one of them and start working with them, because it's a whole other journey that
Okay.
you have to experience. It's not like any other device or frequency thing out there.
Right.
So fascinating. Life is so fascinating. And what we want always manifests. It may not manifest in the form we expected it to manifest, but it always manifests. And let's talk about your courses now. Tell everyone about your courses a little bit.
Yeah, so I would say that so one is the Kabbalah course, right? So Kabbalah to me, I just explain people very simply that the light flows through you at all times. It just does it in the pattern of tree of life. And Kabbalah teaching helps you understand the tree of life pattern, which is a subset of flower of life pattern. So when you
Right.
understand Kabbalah, you truly understand that how the light affects you, and the light basically affects your perspective about how you come into existence in this dense form. Basically, it's basically going from unmanifest to manifest. So Kabbalah is a very good way to understand that how manifestation comes through light in you. And that is pretty much my 12-week course, where I go through every single separa and I explain the concepts in ways that people can truly understand. So you don't have to have a prior knowledge to understand Kabbalah, but it's a very it's a very well integrated system. It really makes you in touch with yourself, with your soul, with your spirit, helps you understand the layers that we have, more than one, right? Because this is just physical, but we are emotional, we are mental, we are spiritual. All of that layers makes you a human being.
Causal, astral.
Exactly. Astral is all, right? So, and the other course I have is Quantum Human, that I created off of my book. And that course, right now I have a 6-week course just to get people to understand the basic concepts so that they can truly start doing things for themselves and even understand how to activate their own DNA just by being aligned with the central sun. You just have to go in the backyard and do it. And it's something that I can help understand them so that they can make that as a part of their daily routine and implement in their lives. So yeah, for me, like teaching a course or anything that I understand is fun. So right now, Quantum Human and Kabbalah are the 2 classes. My website is shehnazsoni.com. So it's pretty simple. My first, now last name.com. My email is emerge and then @shehnazsoni.com. So it's simple as well. I think that I would like to encourage people that they should definitely take full charge in their lives for whatever they're struggling with. And I think that I am going to open the floor for anyone who comes through you for 30 minutes complimentary one-on-one time with me, if they want to come and ask.
Maybe a Zoom course or something like that.
Yeah, I think.
And see what happens. Just see what happens.
Yeah, I can do a quantum manifestation course, because that course gets everybody understanding all the quantum principle that is at play in your life to manifest, because everybody wants to manifest what they truly want. So yeah, we can definitely do that. And I would be more than happy to do that, because it's fun for me and it will help a lot of people. So,
maybe we can put on Kabbalah, or what's your other courses you do?
So it's basically quantum manifestation is one of them. Maybe what you can do is the people that are you're going to ask people what do they want to learn about, because see, I have learned so much that I can even create a class just specific for people,
right?
If they want. That's, I mean, quantum manifestation is one thing, but and if they want introduction to Kabbalah, we can do that as well.
Yeah,
that's something that gives them an idea what Kabbalah is. So we can do that.
Yeah,
but you can also ask them if they have a dire need for understanding something.
Yeah.
And people can ask questions, right?
Yeah,
so then it becomes
absolutely.
better. And then definitely we recorded it.
Because one thing we didn't talk about was, now you have been on Sasha many, many times. So tell us a little bit about how you and Sasha met and how that communion came together, and what excites you about being in that audience as well.
Yeah, so Sasha, actually, it was very interesting because that was part of my quantum manifestation that I even attracted Sasha. So my friend Patty Greer, I met her in one of the Star Knowledge retreat in Aspen Lodge, Colorado, and we became just really good friends. She's a crop circle expert, Patty Greer, and she interviewed me a few times, and she just always loved my energy. So she had sent an email out to Sasha saying that, this is my friend that you should meet. And because she always felt that I needed to meet Sasha. I didn't know Sasha. Right. And of course, Sasha being busy, he never responded to that email where Patty introduced me to him. Right. So I just looked at that email, and part of me wanted, like, it was actually December 31st, 2020, when I got this strong message that I need to just talk to Sasha myself, because Patty had tried and it didn't go anywhere. So I just used that same email and I just replied to Sasha, because I had Sasha's email, and I CC Patty Greer. But I just said, Sasha, I just wanted to introduce myself, because I was just adding on to Patty's email. And I just said that, my name is this and I do this, and I'm interested in teaching classes in your schools that you're making. I'm also interested in becoming a Muslim ambassador because, you live in Bali, and if you need some. So I basically told him, cool. I told him like 3 ways I can help him. And I made it very precise and all that. And within 2 days, we were both on the phone with each other, because he loved the way, I talked about my gifts and I was willing to help. And he was like, man, you said NASA rocket scientist. He said, you got, we say you got me at hello. So you said
Yeah.
you got me at NASA rocket scientist. I didn't care about all the other gifts you have. I wanted to talk to someone who, like, I don't, get emails from people with your caliber every day. Like, that's what he
You're
told
right.
me. And when we talked, and plus I'm Muslim and he really loves and adores Muslims. So we
Yeah.
had that in common too. And from there on, we hit off. And I met him last year for the first time when he came to Nashville, Tennessee, which is only 1.5 hours away from my house. And we talked for 2 hours in spite of all the people who wanted to talk to him because he wanted to talk to me, and
Yeah.
got to know each other. And then pretty much I was in.
I had a really good conversation with him too. And of course, I've formed a relationship with him due to David Sarita as well. And I found him to be very, Sasha's a really strong personality. And word I want to use. Well, what I want to say is that he's really respectful through that personality that he is, that's really sharp and really strong and really direct. He's also very respectful and very humble. When you hear him speak, it may not come across, but in his essence, he certainly is. And I really appreciate him for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm grateful for the friendship that I have with him.
Yeah.
He did the forward for my book.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I'd love to read your book, and I'll even, review it for you once I finish reading it.
Yes.
You quite a few books out there now, but I think I'm a bookworm too. I don't have my library behind me, but
I love books, and books is my friend. And I feel like,
yeah.
my God, if there's anything I want to take, when, if anything, like, you say like, what would you take with you? And I'm like, man, it's all my books.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So that's for sure. Yeah.
So
No.
you mentioned something earlier in our conversation, and this is probably one of the last things I want to talk about, is you mentioned near-death experiences.
Yes.
So will you talk about that? Will you talk about
Yeah.
your near-death experiences and what exactly happened and share?
Yes. My first near-death experience was when I was, I think, 11 years old. I don't remember the exact age, but it was the Hawks Bay Beach in Karachi, Pakistan. And, back home as a girl, you don't learn to swim by any means.
How old were you?
I think I was under 12. I was maybe 10, 11 years old. And I was in the beach. And when you go to the beach, generally, you just go there, you're fully clothed, right? And you're just kind of getting your feet wet type of beach experience for girls, especially, right? And it was just one of those days. And I was very petite and, small in every which way. And one of the wave came and just took me in the waves. And I pretty much, I didn't know how to swim. So I basically sank in the water really bad. And I do remember dying. I remember seeing everything like in a recorded fashion, like my entire life flashed in front of me. I saw myself going through, the whole
The
to
tunnel.
like, yeah. So it was just very, very, it was very spiritual experience in so many ways. And I saw myself going all the way from the present tense to the womb, in my mom's womb. Like I saw all of that. I think I was pretty much ready to die at that point. And then my dad, who is one of the best swimmer in our family, he actually is the one who came and saved me. So it was, yeah, that to me was my first near-death experience, where it made me realize that how everything can flash in front of your eyes and how everything can just be gone in a fraction of a second. So yeah, it was very I can create a video recording of what I really saw. It was very, very real and very serene in its own ways. But I was basically saved. My dad had to give me a CPR, and so everybody saw me pretty much not responding.
So it was a drowning near-death experience kind of thing. Wow. So that was your first near-death experience.
Yes. I would say that was pretty much the more close to what near-death generally is defined as. In that sense, I've had some close calls.
Yeah.
So it was different. I was not dead completely. In this particular case, I was.
Right. Yeah, same. I've had that experience once in my lifetime, and then I've had close calls as well.
Right.
So I wonder if there's certain people selected for these experiences, and because you know, actually, as I've been interviewing people, like we know Daniel Brinkley, and we know, if you go to my website, I actually have Daniel Brinkley on one side, and then I have a young girl who I met just, through different connections. And she's just a young girl who had a near death experience, and her near death experience is so profound. And somebody who had it when, just like you, when she was younger, and what impact it had on her. Like, she didn't even know who God was, at that age, kind of thing. And that, how God enters her life because of this near death experience. And it's really quite profound. And I wonder, if everyone has one of these, but not everyone talks about it.
Or maybe everyone doesn't remember it because, the thing is that we do have an interesting situation with our memory as well.
Yeah.
But one of the things for me, that because of that near-death experience, I realized that how death is not as bad as it seems. Like, like
Right.
how everything is overrated in this life, right? The marriage is
Yeah.
overrated. The death is overrated. The life is overrated. I'm like, what the hell, man? Just get over with it. Like, I mean, we all have, nothing is supposed to last forever. So let's just accept it and just move on.
Yeah.
But to me, like, a lot of people like really go out of the way to stay alive. And I'm like, you know what? It's not that bad on the other
Right.
side. At least that's
Yeah.
what I feel.
Yeah. So after Crystal and Thomas passed away in August, I'm getting a really good sense of what it's like on the other side, because, well, not so much Crystal, although she has visited a couple of times, but Thomas is often around, and I get to hear and learn and experience the other side through this experience of communicating with him on the other side now. And that's a whole other subject too, how many people communicate with people on the other side.
Yes.
I'm sure it happens to many people, and just we don't know about it. So I try and document it and interview people who've had these experiences as often as I can too.
I'll tell you this, my dad has been always a very great photographer. And since he died, like whenever because I like to take pictures of nature and stuff because it's fun for me, like taking pictures is a little bit of a hobby as well. And I do see my dad like pretty much kind of almost working through me.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. I'll tell you my most traumatic one, which was just after he died. So it was the next day. And I'm like, come on, man, that, you decide whether you die or not anyone else. Why didn't you like jump back in your body? And I asked him this question, right, in my mind. And so I have this dream and I see in my dream, he keeps trying to jump back into his body, right? And he keeps coming out. And so that day, I'm walking. A friend of mine calls me and says, let's go for a walk, right? You can't just be depressed all the time now. And I'm like, no, I want to go. And so he finally convinced me to go. So I went for a walk with him, but I left him far behind me, right? I was well ahead of him. I don't know where he was. And I'm walking and I'm still talking to Thomas, right? I go, why? Why didn't you just jump back into your body, right? I'm still on this same thought. And so I turned the corner. And just around the corner, there's this big board in front of me. And in big red letters, it says, jump dangerous. It was when I saw that I was finally convinced that, okay, now I understand why you didn't jump back into your body. And so I guess his body was in a place where he couldn't re-enter his body. And he was trying to tell me that. So that's how it showed.
And I think the whole choice thing is very interesting too, right? Because there is the choice, but there's also, like, I mean, as I said, it's just you're going into another existence, right? So it's not like you're stop being existing, you just go into another existence. I think majority of the people who come back are primarily because of what you said, that they feel this sense of responsibility or sense of obligation or sense of mission or whatever. Like they feel like that their work is not done on earth yet. So they come back. Some people would come back if their life is just really incredibly amazing and they don't want to miss out on having fun. But majority of the people fall in a category like you did, where they come back mainly because they feel like they still have some unfinished business. And I think to some extent, as I said, that like, it's just whatever it is, right? So it's both choices have its pros and cons. and the person has to kind of like, so it's just from your perspective, of course, you would have liked for him to come back because you really had that incredible attachment with
Yeah.
him, and you would have wanted to experience more life with him while you're still here in this
Right.
world. So that makes sense. However, I think that, and that is where it gets interesting, right? Because everybody's perspective of what is good and what is not is different.
Yeah. Right. And now I'm realizing that I have a different relationship with him. It's a really profound, amazing relationship that's just that I can't physically see him.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting
So
that communication changes. I think that
yeah.
people that are close to you, whether they're here in this physical form or not, you're going to be in communication with them because you have that deeper connection with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So wow, this has been a really amazing conversation. I really enjoyed, having this dialogue with you. I mean, we covered so many things. And so at this point, I'm going to suggest that if there's any question I haven't asked you or something you want to share that, I probably didn't even think about because I wouldn't have known to think about it, please share that now.
Yeah, and I think that the question, you have asked great questions, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to just have this conversation with you. And I just would like to say that the book that I'm going to publish this year, Quantum Human, is
That's
a
right.
book.
She's an author now. We forgot to talk about that.
Is the book for everyone who wants to, like, get themselves more aligned within themselves. It's for everyone who is looking for one more things that they can maybe they're missing, that can help them become more complete. So it's kind of a book that is going to be something that you can read every time, and you'll get something out of it where you'll be like, oh my God, yeah, So that is my intention, at least with the book, is to help everyone see the life for what it is, truly a gift, and see themselves for what it is, truly a gift, and start availing all of their resources within themselves to the maximum, so that we can all truly have a lot more fun than we have been having lately. And we truly can enjoy life while we're here, so that we can say, my God, I want to stay here on earth even when the death comes close to you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so, life is so fascinating and life is so amazing. And I can't wait to read your book, and I can't wait for others to experience you through a course or some means where they have more interaction with you, because wow, you're an amazing person. Thank you, Shehnaz. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for,
Thank you.
honoring me with the opportunity to interview you, because I've been wanting to for a while, but nothing's panned out. But, all things happen in God's time, not ours.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
thank
Thank you for
you.
the opportunity. We will connect outside of that later.
Inshallah.